Okay, so in our satsang today, I want to pick up on that point about turning upon oneself. So there are two ways that the vritti meaning the internal frequency of thought and emotion, it can be turned outside in the world of objects, emotions, thoughts, the external world. And there's always interaction with the outside world. We always have interaction with that world. But we are, if individuals are just simply looking in the outside world for continuous happiness, that is never going to be found that way. Only thing that will be found is sukh and dukh, happiness, distress, the highs and lows, limited experiences like that. We talked about it so many times. So if that is realized, then what is the practical implication? See the practical implication of that realization that the world of objects, world of thoughts and emotions, these are worlds, first of all, within which our consciousness is, living. These worlds can provide experiences, but they are restricted, limited. They can be expanded to some extent, and then that's all. So if once that is realized, that's when the individual begins to turn the mind, turn the vritti inside to discover what is the Atma, what is the consciousness. And when one tries to do that, the barrier is vasana. The barrier is causal body. So to reach the Atma, actually, to realize that causal body has to be transgressed, has to be destroyed. And the destruction of the causal body occurs when there is complete gyan, wisdom regarding the causal body. See, that's part of it. Also the connection with God to ask for the destruction of that causal, to remove the Maya. So that is the other most important point. Because causal body is responsible for millions of lifetimes of birth and death for the jiva. So on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, even though while we're going through the waking state and our past experiences and the highs and lows and good experiences and negative experiences and everything, as the Swamiji was saying, that it is a game, that is a lila. We talked about that before. That consider it as a game, don't get so wrapped up in there. Nonetheless, one must be protective of the body and of the mind to not damage it, to not damage that which we need to realize the Atma. Sometimes in life, particularly for those who are on spiritual path, many ups and downs occur, many changes occur, so that a situation comes about where one turns one's attention entirely towards God, which is what generally doesn't happen. We are trying to find this constant happiness in this outside world. And the only thing outside world can provide, if we really examine, is some temporary states of change, and that's all. And then you get tired of it. As wonderful as the experiences might be, you get tired of it. After some time, you say, this is enough. I want something different now. It's always like that. So that's just the nature of experience. That doesn't mean we're rejecting experience. That doesn't mean we are just isolating into a cave or something. No, that's not what it means. There's a harmony between the external experience and the internal journey. They have to go together. And if they don't go together, then one will wind up in extremism, extreme things people will do. Some people just will do dhyan, meditation, isolate themselves, and but that, how long you can do that? You can do for some time. Yes, it's possible to capture more depth in that. You can do longer time. But then even all those great rishis in the past, they still came back into the nature, into the world. They taught, they had activity to be done in this world. So nobody can escape the activity of this world as long as we have a body and mind. That is what the Karma Yoga is all about in the Gita. But along with that activity, that activity can be done with wisdom, with knowledge, with gyan. That these things are all temporary. Everything is going to come and go. So when you have that, then you can, at any time you want, you can dive back into the oceanic state of consciousness. So even though you're playing the game, you are internally, in that higher state. It's like if you are a multimillionaire, again, a financial example, people understand those easily, and you're playing a board game, like that game of Monopoly and other board games where there's fake money. But for the children who are playing, they take it as very real. So they get so upset and this and that, but now adults who are playing that, who have real money in their bank account, they don't care about these things. What is this nonsense? But they can play with the kids, it's just for fun. It's like that. This entire life that we have is like a play with this in this Prakriti. And if we can play the game, do our duty, do what's needed, see the whole range of experience, decide what we want from that experience, but at the same time never forget the fact that you are that Brahman. Nijatmanam Brahmarupam Dehatraya Vilakshanam. If we never forget that, Aksharam Ham or Bhagwan ke Das, ये जो दो बात है ना, like in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, this is a sutra that they give, right? Aksharam Ham Krishna Dasosmi, or Aksharam Ham Purushottama Dasosmi. There's some sutra like that. Then there's no suffering. I mean, body, mind will go through its suffering and all, in suffering and pain and highs and lows and good things. It will go through all that. But the ability to dive inside, it's like the person who's a multimillionaire. Even for 5 minutes, if that person forgets that he's a multimillionaire, what will happen? Poverty, internal poverty, forgets the bank account, forgets this, forgets that. He becomes a poor person, homeless person. But the moment that person remembers, I'm this, everything is just, all that poverty is gone, all that deficiency is gone, all that fear is gone. Again, these are not perfect analogies, but it's a good one, I think. When we remember, I am not these vasanas, I am actually this super consciousness that is the Akshara Brahma, the Atma Tattva. That's who I am. And when we have that ability to dive inside through bhajan, kirtan, mantra sadhana, all spiritual approaches, इसको आध्यात्मिक सामग्री कहते हैं. ये सब सामग्री है ना. संतों की कथा वार्ता, भजन, कीर्तन, मंत्र साधना, शास्त्र पठन, so many things. Guru seva, going to temples, having temples in your house, or whatever spiritual places. What is all that? This is called spiritual paraphernalia, adhyatmik samagri. We need that. Like if we want to do havan, we have to have material to put in the havan, right? That is called samagri. And then it gets consumed in the light of the Agni, Jwala. Similarly, when we put all of our experiences into the Gyan Yoga, into the Gyan Agni, into Yog Yagna, Gnan Yagna, that we're putting the experiences of the world into the Atma. That is called Gyan Yagna, it is called Karma Yagna. It is Yagna means it's a sacrifice. So Sachin performs an action which he regrets. Sachin performs an action he's very happy about, Harsha Shokha. He says, take both of them and put them into the Jnana. That this is all occurring within the substratum of the Akshara Brahma, and one is not caught in any of it. One is simply just diving into the supreme bliss. So again, that sounds all very good, but to actually be in that state is our goal. To go into that state, that is where all of the gurus come into play, great sages come into play, scriptures, because it is only our mind that is going to dive into that. In Vachanamrut, Swaminarayan Bhagwan mentioned Jeev or Man ki mitrata. So they're friends. They're obviously, because the mind is nothing but another evolute. It's a power of the Atma. So what we consider our mind, it needs to be infused with the color of satsanga. And satsanga means 5 things, as we mentioned. It means the sang means contact with. But it's not just contact. That word is not accurate actually. Sang means that it has absorption of what it has contact with. Right? So there's 5 ways of understanding satsang, 5 different types of satsang. Not different types, they're all the same. One is the contact with the Sat Shastra. Like we were studying Vivek Chudamani, listening to sages, all this. What is that? They are speaking, or what is scripture that is called Sat. Sat means truth. Sat Shastra means that words, those ideas that are going to be heard by the mind, heard by the individual, that PFT, that jiva, perceiver, feeler, thinker, heard by that jiva, so that produces wisdom inside the mind, and that wisdom is then churned inside the mind through manan, chintan, nididhasan, and then it leads, and that's called sangha. So it is sangha is not simply listening; it's a beginning step. Sangha is when those ideas are churning inside, that they're mixing inside, they are growing inside, they are infusing inside the mind. So the mind is getting colored by that contact. Just as if you take water, colorless water, and you put a red dye in there, the whole bucket of water, the whole pot of water will look red. Isn't it so? If you put another color, green or blue, or you put many colors, it'll all get colored water. Mind is that which is constantly colored by all of its contacts. So the world of objects, emotions, thoughts, the external world, is what is coloring our mind. It's coloring the antakarana. So that is where the word viveka again comes into play. That what to put inside the mind, to what kind of color do we want the mind to gain? People who are, let's say, who love nature, go to mountains and beaches, all nature, crazy about nature. So their mind is going to be impacted by those experiences, and it will take the quality of those experiences inside. But the same people, if they start going to bars and all kinds of different kind of environment, let's say, lots of parties and lots of alcohol and lots of smoking and lots of jokes and all that whole party life, the mind is going to be colored by that. I'm not making any judgment on that. Just trying to illustrate the difference. Mind is, let's say, a human being has very close friends, 25 really close friends. They spend all their time together. Whatever, every free moment, every free weekend, everything is mind will be colored by that. Someone who's involved in a religious organization, deeply involved, committed to any particular religious path or organization, is involved with those group of religious people, their teachings, scriptures, ideas, whatever, mind will be colored by that. Mind is always colored with what it is associated with. That is called sangha. And sangha really means that there is an absorption. Now, if Sachin just goes to the mall, let's say once a month and walks around, it's not going to have that much impact. But if I go to the Christiana Mall here every day in different clothes and different shopping, and I'm going there quite often with so much interest, then I am very much going to be impacted by that environment, and if I gain the experience that this is a fun experience, I like this experience, I will go back again and again and again. So going back again and again to past enjoyments is called vasana. That is a definition of vasana in Vachanamrut Garada number 11. And people look at that. I will put those quotations up a little bit later on after we get through this series. That what we have enjoyed before, Maharaja stated, what we have enjoyed before, we want to enjoy again. And what we have not enjoyed, somebody tells Sachin, you know what, there's a really amazing 5 new books on psychology at Barnes and Nobles. You have not read them, you have not seen them, go and see them. Oh my God, I love psychology books. Let me go there and let me go to the next free moment I have, because I'm so interested in that, from that particular author, what that person said, whatever. So I have not experienced it, but I want to. That's also vasana. But these are vasanas. Vasanas can be of many types. generally they're categorized into two types, but it's not just two. It's sadvasana and asadvasana. And so sadvasana means that which is not harmful to us. That's like a neutral kind of impact. But sadvasana, from an adhyatmic point of view, is a desire to learn about God, about the Atma, mumukshutva, which you mentioned before. So Sangha is the coloring of the mind. Now the mind, our inner space, gets colored by scriptures if we want. If we are going towards the Atma, we need to have that wisdom, knowledge, technology resetting that will take us to the Atma. So, Sangha of the scriptures, various mantras that are given by Sadgurus, the sages themselves who have reached that state, all of that, Sang, Satpurush ka Sang, Sat Shastra ka Sang, Mantron ka Sang, Bhajan Kirtan ka Sang, like this, Then you have Sad Vichar, the quality of the mind, the enhancement of the quality of thought and emotion. That is called Sang of the that the Sad Vichar is there. Sat Vichar, really, when you put it together, Sad Vichar, that comes about. When that begins to erupt, resonate with that. That's me. That's taking me in the right direction. So there are states in adhyatmic process when these awakened ideas begin to erupt inside the intellect, inside the buddhi, inside the mind, etc. And then we stay with them, connect with them, live with them. But we're still living in the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. We're not divorced from that. The question is how much to go into that. And as I mentioned before, if one has a healthy body, relatively healthy mind, and depending on how much financial power one has, on those three factors, one can experience the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts to that extent. That's the way it goes. Someone who can afford just a cycle or like the small scooter in India or someplace, they can experience world based on that limitation. Someone who can actually, go from country to country, from plane to airport can afford to do all that and see so many different countries and to take different tours and different places and keep going and going and going. How can they do that? If they have physical body that can do it, mental ability to do that, they want to do it, the desire to do it has to be there, and then also the monetary capacity to pay for all of that. That's where money comes into play. Money is what? It is a way to open up the experiences of the material world. But just accumulating more and more money doesn't open up the experience of the Atma. If it did, all those billionaires would have been great sages, or millionaires, billionaires, rich people, whatever. It doesn't do that. Atma is available for anybody. And that's the beauty. The world of objects, emotions, and thoughts are available for everyone in their own way. But just accumulating more and more experience of the external world doesn't open the door into the Atma. No. It's how much of the experience is integrated through the mind that will ultimately bring wisdom into the nature of the psychological me, and then by jnana, by Guru Krupa, break through into the Atma. So what do I mean by that? An example. If I'm reading, just as something which I do almost every day, I'd read some research articles every day. So let's say I'm reading a research article on some subject, let's say something about, let's say like a defense mechanism, some psychological subject. So if I'm reading that, if I read, let's say even 3 paragraphs, but if I contemplate on it, think about it, internalize it, pull it together, it has meaning. If I read the whole article, but I don't even remember the next day what I read, what did I do? I just wasted my time. I did nothing with that. I can say, okay, I have some vague memory. I read something here and there. Who cares? What difference does it make? I may have spent 2 hours reading something and I don't even care about that. I don't even remember it at all. It's better to read less, internalize more, think more, contemplate more, connect more, Because when we're reading something, as I'm just giving this as an example, but this is true with anything. You can be eating food at a restaurant. I mean, the same thing is true. The same principle applies. When we are having some experience, it's not the quantity of experience that is going to produce joy. It's the quality and of the experience and how much the experience is actually integrated into the antakarana through the structure of the vasanas, like the different desires are there, to pull it through there with gyan, with bhakti, vairagya, all those ideas, and then that experience integrates as a bridge into the Atma. What I'm describing here is the connection between Vedanta and the Kashmiri Shaivism. And this connection is there in the Gita. It's there in the Vachanamrut. It's there in all utterances of all enlightened beings. Because enlightenment is this exact connection. It is the ability to take an experience from the outside that is now coming in the inside and to properly, carefully, mindfully, meditatively bridge it through the vasana structure, where the Guru Gyan, where the Guru Tattva becomes active inside, that allows us to cross the layer of vasanas, and that experience then bridges into the Atma. See, this point, the way I'm describing it here, this is just a reflection in my mind. That's where Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he mentioned that the mind is a ray of the Atma. See the beautiful expression. It's in Garada number 23. Man jivni kaik kiran che. In Gujarati he mentioned. It's a kiran, like you know how you have the sunlight. Just take one ray of the sun. Mind is like one ray of the Atma. So if that's the case, then the experiences we're having from the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, those experiences, we need to decide what experience to have, how much of it to have, and can the quantity and the quality be such that it actually enhances the journey towards the Atma, rather than taking the energies within us and dispersing them further in the external world. That is non-dual Shaiva Tantra. Tantra means this. Tantra means what? To integrate. Not the wrong understandings and the crazy things that are out there about that word. Tantra simply means combination. It means integration, pulling together. Like in Vachanamrut, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, what did he do? He said Dharma, Gnan, Vairagya, and Bhakti. He said Ek Bijani Apeksha. They're dependent on one another. But so when you pull them all together, that is called Tantra. You see, so Tantra means that you are weaving together, pulling together the diversity that is experienced through the senses back into the Antakarana without damaging energy. That is the Shakti part. Because you have energy. You're not damaging into your internal power at all. And without damaging any internal power, those experiences through Gnan Yoga, through Gnan Yagna, Yoga Yagna, through Bhakti, Vairagya, through Manan, Chintan, those experiences, you are then able to take your own mind and let it sink back into the ocean of the Akshara Brahma. That is the secret of Adhyatmic realization. Guaranteed. I challenge anybody to challenge this point. This I'm telling you right now, Deviji, it's not that Sachin is telling you. This is coming from my mind from 30 years of sadhana and experience. This is the essence of spiritual realization. The ability to allow the mind to retract back and sink naturally. That's sinking naturally into the Atma and the Paramatma without fragmentation, without reaction, without any kind of distortion or distraction or disturbance. And then the ability to come back into the material world without any kind of entanglement. That is called upsham. UPSHAM. Upsham की बात वचनामृत में आती है और गोपाल स्वामी जी जो हो गए his life was around this point. Upsham is where you are still interacting with the world, but you are not in any which way trapped inside the world of objects, emotions, or thoughts. That is called upsham, upsham. It is a yogic state, actually, where the mind is so integrated and evolved, it's gone into the Atma, actually. So when a person closes their eyes, even for 2 minutes, immediately the Atma is there. It's not like, you're just there. And then you can come up, and then Atmic realization is still there, and that realization functions in the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. This is called a Jivan Mukta. A person who is able to live freely in the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts without any entanglement, without any disturbance, distraction, loss of energy, and using the mind-body complex. God is actually using the mind and the body of such an individual to bring something to the world, to bring light to the world. You know how Jesus said in the Bible that the light has come into the world? That's what this is referring. This is my interpretation, or interpretation in this mind. All right, let's stop here for now, and then we'll continue tomorrow.